One.
Hi Digital Arts, we're going to be talking about the drawing tools today. I'm going to apologize in advance if I call it the shape tool because that's what it's called in Photoshop. So we're going to work with two tools today, the drawing tool and the eyedropper. So let's go ahead and look at the eyedropper first. Any image that you pull up in Photoshop, let's say you want to know what color it is that makes it up. The eyedropper tool, which is located right here, will let you do that. So if you click on anywhere in the image, it will actually copy that color for you so that you don't have to guess and try to find it yourself. That's basically what it does. We're not actually going to do it in the practice for this, but you're going to need it for the next project. So in order to explain the drawing tools, let me go ahead and start you off. So we're going to open up a new image. Make sure it's a 600 by 600 pixel workspace, checkmark transparent, and right here, this is what we're going to look at, the options bar. So A are the shapes right here, B is the border, and C is the fill. You already know what opacity and mode are, so we're not going to waste our time talking about that. So when you click on the drawing tool right here, you can see just those options. What it does is basically when you want to draw a rounded rectangle, an ellipse, or a line, these options will pull up. You notice that the only one that kind of has some options missing is the line tool. So the border, if you draw a shape with you could have a border on it, and basically what it does is it allows you to frame your shape. If you don't want that, just set the border to 0. For our purposes, we're actually going to be making a donut with our drawing tool. So think kind of like Homer Simpson's donut. The first thing you want to do is click on Fill Shape. That's going to determine what color your shape is. And like a good donut, you want a light brown for the base. Think about the upper part of your workspace to start in before you draw. And we do not have square donuts. I apologize for that. Make sure you are on the ellipse tool. Drag your shape down, and there you have it. Now, in order to cut a circle out of it, we're going to need the selection tool on the elliptical marquee. So again, you're just going to find an upper corner and you're going to draw and try to even out all the way around. If it's not completely even, it's okay. It's not a big deal. Once you have your selection, you're going to go ahead and hit backspace, and that will delete the hole into the donut. Let's go ahead and deselect that so you have your nice shape there. So right now it looks like a flat donut. We're going to give it some depth. That's where the layer styles tool comes in. So we haven't used this yet. We've talked about it a little bit, but for now we're going to add a drop shadow. With any of these options, you don't want to just click on the box here. It does work, but it doesn't give you any options, so you're kind of limited. What you want to do is click on the word. So you notice right when I clicked on the word, all these options came up. So you can set the opacity down a little bit, maybe don't make it go out too far. The size kind of disperses the shadow a little bit, and then you can even change the angle of your shadow if you wanted to. So it has a little bit of depth, but we really want the actual donut to have some depth. That's where bevel comes in. So go ahead and click on the word bevel, and you can kind of see it automatically created almost like a lip. So just play around with the distance and the size, and you'll start to see your donut get a little rounder. The highlights, it might not have some really dark blacks in it, so we could just find that brown again and find a deeper brown and maybe not quite bright white for the highlights. All right, so that looks a little more natural. Now the other thing is the style. You can have an inner bevel, which is what this looks like. You can have an outer bevel, which makes it flip backwards, or a full bevel, which I think personally makes it look a lot more realistic. So we're going to go ahead and hit OK, and the next step is to add icing. This is where the layer overlay comes in, just like the black and white image of Chloe we did. So you're going to add a new layer, and if you don't overlay it, basically it's going to look like you painted on. It's going to be really obvious, and it's going to look fake. So it's going to cover all the really cool highlights and shadows that you painstakingly put in there to make it look 3D. So that's why we want to go down here into the layers and make the mode overlay. So now you can see how it basically molds around with the highlights and things like that. So I'm going to enlarge my brush a little bit. Remember, the period key does that. That way you're not spending forever painting. And that looks about good. If you make a mistake, that's the other benefit of having a layer. You can use the eraser and it won't delete or erase your actual donut base. All right, so that looks good. If you wanted to, you could change the color. However, some colors are not going to show up the way you think they are as an overlay, so you might have to try some different things. So the last thing you're going to do is use the drawing tool to create sprinkles. So we're going to use the line tool. You're going to bump up the size, and you might want to try some different sizes to see what works best. And again, I'm going to kind of use my Homer Simpson donut as a reference. And let's see what that looks like. So that basically turned it yellow. We do not want that. Let's try a different color. Now, what I would suggest actually is to create a new layer and make it overlay again. That way, if you make a mistake, you can erase without damaging the rest of your work. All right, so my color's not really working right now, but I'm just going to go with it. So you're just going to create a bunch of little sprinkles here and there. Try to make them go all over different angles and things like that to make it look a little bit more realistic. And actually, if you really wanted to, you could maybe make that layer a normal layer and add a bevel to those sprinkles also. Probably not so deep. There we go. That looks pretty good. And there, oops, sorry about that. Don't forget to press OK once you have it where you like it. And you can even go up to the adjustments, hue and saturation, and change the color easily of your sprinkles. There we go. That looks a little bit more like Homer's donut. Okay, so basically I'd go around and finish the sprinkles, and that's pretty much it. So we're going to go ahead and save that file as donut. Make sure it's JPEG. Click on the quality and send it to 100 and press OK. All right, so that's it for this tutorial. Make sure you complete the form to fill in the steps and the reflection and turn that in. And if you have any questions, let me know.